Hello, welcome back. So we are learning different classes that are available in Java like string, string builder and so on. So in that line, we would want to learn about primitive wrappers. We learned about primitives earlier, which are the int, float, double and so on. So primitive wrappers are basically class equivalents for that, right? When I say class equivalent for int, that is an integer class. So int is a basic type, integer is a class, just like string. So for double, that is a double class. So in this video, we're going to learn a little bit about those primitive wrappers because they will definitely come in handy. So we would definitely want to learn them. Let's go ahead and create a new class and we'll name it primitive wrappers and we'll create our main method. Let's start with int. So if you want to create an integer variable, you will create int number equals 10, right? That's an integer. So there is a class called integer. So which basically stores the same type of value, but it stores within a class. So you can say integer um, I equals. There are two ways to create, or multiple ways to create these objects. You can say new integer. Let's do a control space and see what Eclipse gives us. So as you can see, there are two constructors that are available. One takes an integer value, other takes a string value, right? The integer one is pretty straightforward. So let's try this guy. So you can inside that you can say 2. So what this basically creates is an integer object but stores the value 2 in it. So this string is basically converted to a number and stored. Same way you can, let's try the other constructor also. J equals new integer of 3, right? So this creates a J object and stores the number 3 in it. But there is another shorthand way to do it. The concept is called autoboxing, right? What that means is you can create integer k equals 3. That's perfectly fine because k is an object, right, of type integer class, but instead of doing a new integer of the number, you can give the number directly. So what happens is a concept called autoboxing. Java knows, okay, you're trying to assign an integer number to integer object. It creates the object for you and stores. It's just a convenient way of creating an integer object instead of doing a new integer of. You can print this, so you don't have to convert or anything. You can just say system.out.println k, right? Just like how you would display an integer if you do a right click, run as Java application, you get 3. Perfectly fine. So that's 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 basically primitive wrappers. If you do a k dot, there are a bunch of methods again, just like string and string builder. You have a bunch of methods that you can use. These classes come in handy when you want to create an object that stores the value because you want to perform object related functions on them and you cannot use a primitive at that point. So these definitely come in handy. So we learned about autoboxing, right? There is another concept called unboxing, which is basically the reverse of it. You can say int k2 equals k. So we are creating a primitive, right, variable k2 of type int, but we are assigning an object, right? Java knows, okay, you're assigning an integer object to an integer primitive type. It unboxes the value, and instead of storing the object, it stores the actual primitive value or the actual integer value in this primitive type. So this autoboxing and unboxing will come in really, really handy when we have to convert between primitives and wrapper types. Just like integer, we have other ones too. So you can say double um, d2 equals 3.4. That's perfectly fine, right? You cannot do double d4 equals 3 or 2. It will say you cannot convert, right? It would have to match. The type will have to match. But all the methods that we saw, all the autoboxing, unboxing, any method that is there in integer is also there in double also. And same way we have float, Boolean, all the primitives have a wrapper type. And one more important thing to remember, or important thing to kind of like know, is all these methods have a parse method that come in really handy. So here we created an integer object, right? But if we want to create an integer primitive type from a string, you could do, for example, int result equals integer dot type parse. As you can see, integer.parseInt returns an int, right? So you could also use this method and pass number 4 and do a system.out.println result. So if you print it, you get 4 displayed. So parseInt, integer.parseInt, just like that we have double.parseDouble, and so on and so forth to convert strings to an integer type or primitive type. So the parse methods also come in handy when you have to convert from a string to a primitive type. So that's basically wrappers. There are other wrappers available for other types. Play with it. Make sure you're comfortable with it, and make sure you're really comfortable with the autoboxing and unboxing and what it does, because it'll be very important and it will definitely come in handy when you code more programs in future. So that's basically primitive wrappers. That See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.